Yeah, it's hard to figure out what it does and doesn't mean. So we have a meeting going on this morning. Donald Trump recently talked, Tom, about how he liked Mark Carney and he wanted, to
Yeah.
help Canada. It's hard to know what that means because the president says a lot of different things all over the map sometimes. What is the best case scenario here for Canada?
The best case scenario is that we're starting to put the ball on the tee for the negotiation of COSMA 2. So we've got it's already programmed. It's got to start next year, 2026. It's around the corner. We've got to start renegotiating that deal. So one of the trickiest parts for Canada and other trade partners, but in this one it's the case of Canada and Mexico. You're dealing with the Americans. You have a deal, and they say, but by the way, we're Americans and we're always going to keep control of our borders against dangers if there's any national security issue. So they've come up with some that make no sense at all. So the Americans say, well, fentanyl at the border, Canada, I mean, you're just not doing enough. So we played the game, even though we knew that 0.1% of the fentanyl going into the States actually came from Canada. We named a fentanyl czar, a very distinguished person from law enforcement, gave him a budget, and was saying, we're going to toughen the border on that stuff. Then it was things like, well, all of a sudden, you can understand minerals, you can understand steel, aluminum, and all of a sudden, lumber? I mean, what are the Americans worried about in terms of their national security, that we're going to go hit them with baseball bats made out of Canadian lumber? So it doesn't hold together, but Donald Trump has made his career about fighting in court, using every trick in the book. And if there's an escape clause, he's going to use it. So Canada and Mexico have got to keep an eye on that. Any new deal has to preclude this constant use by the Americans of the idea that somehow their national security is at stake, and that somehow justifies these ridiculous tariffs.
What you just saw there in this clip is total lazy reporting and political commentary. I'm actually shocked that Tom Mulcair did this. I know some of you believe that Tom Mulcair always does things like this, but it really is time that we point out Tom Mulcair's latest commentary on CTV. He looked straight into the camera and said, quote, "It is hard to deal with a guy who makes stuff up all the time." Now, in my initial pass at this, I assumed he was talking about Mark Carney, because that's the truth, but he was referring to Donald Trump and Canada's trade negotiations. And so right away, I just about spit out my coffee, as I'm sure most of you did, because it's all false. Not because Trump hasn't been blunt or aggressive in his trade talks. He certainly has. We all know he has. But because Mulcair's framing is so lazy, so one-sided, and so incredibly dishonest, it was laughable. Even giving credit to people that are down south setting up meetings that are 90 minutes long, come on. Canada has been told for months exactly what the U.S. expects in good faith negotiations, and other countries in the world have already done it. Yet instead of examining why Canada hasn't delivered ourselves, Mulcair takes the easy road. He blames Donald Trump, calling him a liar, the big bad evil Donald Trump again, and wash our hands of any of our own responsibility in all of this yet again. I can't even believe this continues to happen. But today we're not going to let him get away with that. We're going to tear apart each of his points, expose the contradictions that we heard, and show that Canada, under Mark Carney and the Liberals, is the one fumbling, not Donald Trump. Let's go.
Welcome to Bakes on Things.
Welcome back to Bakes on Things. I'm Chris Baker. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, join the conversation in the comments down below. Special announcement. This is our last episode of the week, and we will not have one on Saturday or on Monday, which is the holiday. Not because it's the holiday necessarily, but because we're preparing something very special for you. Thanks to all of your support for the last 5-6 months. We now will have a brand new set, a brand new look, a brand new feel that'll be even edgier and more controversial, but at the same time expose a lot more truths here in Canada. And it all starts on Bakes on Things daily on Tuesday, so make sure you tune in for that. I'm really excited. It's going to be a whole new look and feel and a lot of fun. All right, let's get started. Trump makes stuff up all the time. Let's start with the big soundbite Mulcair says, where Trump makes up all the stuff all the time, right, Tom? Well, let's test that, shall we? See, if Trump truly makes things up out of thin air, then prove it. Bring me the receipts. I want to see them. I want to see the things that were made up. Now, he might be talking about the 1% fentanyl thing, but it's already been proven that we don't inspect those containers as much as we probably should. And so Donald Trump may actually be more right than we think on fentanyl getting into the US. But here's the reality. Trump has been remarkably consistent about what he wants in these trade negotiations. You cannot argue that. Fair treatment for American agriculture and energy, he's constantly said that. Reciprocal tariffs that aren't tilted against U.S. industries, repeatedly said that, and an end to Canadian games with digital service taxes and carbon tariffs, repeatedly said that. That's not making things up. That's just policy. We just keep refusing to change it. And that's negotiation on his part. Whether you like it or not, it's what he campaigned on even. So it's not new at all. It's what he's delivering. And it's what Canadians were told months ago. What Mulcair is doing here in this particular analysis is using vague language, like makes stuff up. Well, what did he make up? What did he make up? Why didn't you list it off? To delegitimize Donald Trump is unfair. You got to use specifics. It's political theater. And the Canadian media eats it up because it fits the narrative they are trying to push. Trump is a cartoon villain. Canada is the noble victim. It's lazy and it's wrong, and it needs to stop. Now, here's where Mulcair's argument completely explodes. It entirely collapses. He paints Canada as this beacon of clarity, a government that has laid out consistent negotiating principles from day one. Really? Have we? Because we keep changing the narrative. Let's take a look. Just last month, well, just this month, because it's not September yet, Canada suddenly dropped its counter tariffs on a range of U.S. goods, which on the face of it seemed great. No warning, though. No clear communication as to what, why, how, where did this come from. Businesses were caught off guard. Economists were left scratching their heads. What happened to elbows up? Is this elbows limp now? Was this a strategy? Was this a concession? Were we bending over to take it from the U.S., or was it a desperate move because our counter tariffs were backfiring and costing Canadian families epic amounts of money and more at the grocery store and other places? Is it something that they really cared about, or are they just saving face? If your strategy is so clear, you don't make abrupt, unexplained reversals that even your own Trade Department struggles to explain to the Canadian voters. And let's not forget, this government has been all over the map on digital taxation. First, it was an ironclad position. Canada must tax U.S. tech giants for doing business across the border. Then, under pressure, they hinted that delaying that implementation. Then, they tried to fold it into CUSMA negotiations and a bargaining chip. Then, they dropped it all together and bent over on it because the U.S. was clearly not going to play that game. That's not clarity. That's improvisation based on the story of the day. Mulcair also tries to frame this as if Canada is pure as the driven snow, and Trump is the big bad wolf trying to blow our house down. But trade is a two-way street. Both sides have responsibility in these negotiations. If Canada really wants fair treatment, then, I don't know, maybe, just maybe, it should stop pretending that we hold all the cards. We don't hold the upper hand here. We never have, and we never will. Our economy is 1/10 the size of America's. We're just being a crybaby to the north. We are the junior partner in these talks, whether Mark Carney and Tom Mulcair and your mainstream media like it or not. That means we have to be sharp. We have to be strategic in our negotiations and willing to compromise in order to protect Canadian jobs. We aren't seeing that from this Liberal government at all. They are playing it as it's off the cuff. Instead, we get sanctimonious lectures on TV about Trump being hard to deal with. Well, other countries have deals, so get over it. Here's a thought. Maybe it's hard to deal with Canada when we keep changing our tune, dragging our feet on everything we're doing, and showing up unprepared, making announcements. Trump has already hammered out deals with the UK, Japan, the EU, and Mexico, deals that started with tough rhetoric, yes, but ended with real frameworks and commitments to do business. Meanwhile, Canada is still sitting on its hands, waiting for the photo ops, continuing to watch our Prime Minister travel all over the globe to make announcements about announcements. If Trump was the real enemy here, he wouldn't have got things done with Europe and Asia, okay? Because they wouldn't have dealt with him either, but they did. And this is where the Canadian media comes in. They love Mulcair's framing because it's simple. Trump is unstable. He is evil. We have a villain. Carney is stable. He's our grandpa. He's going to put his arms around you and save us all. End of story. But let's ask, where is the coverage of Canada's contradictions that we have played? Where are the questions about why Carney committed billions more to Ukraine last week while ducking serious trade reforms here at home? Where is the outrage over counter-tariff flip-flops? Where are the investigative pieces on how Canadian negotiators are coming up empty right now every time they talk to the U.S.? A 90-minute meeting was considered long, Tom? Come on, man. It should have been a whole day meeting. Month after month, this continues, while Trump's administration keeps chalking up deals abroad. CTV isn't interested in those questions, though. It's very clear. Instead, they give Mulcair a platform to say Trump makes stuff up. It's infotainment, not actual journalism. We saw that from CTV yesterday with the guy who was talking about the smile on Mulcair's face being a sign that things were going well. This is not accountability whatsoever. So let's get to the heart of all of this then, because the problem isn't Trump's rhetoric. The problem is Canada's lack of preparation. It's our lack of leverage that we have because we don't have it, and our lack of leadership. We've been told for months what the U.S. needs in good faith talks. Yes, it's been loud. Yes, it's been obnoxious at times, but we have been told. We keep showing up empty-handed, unwilling to even consider those things. And then, instead of owning our failures, we run to the cameras and blame Donald Trump. But Donald Trump hasn't even looked at Canada in over a month. He had one call with Mark Carney. That's not strategy. That's weakness. And weakness is exactly why Canada is falling behind globally while Trump moves ahead with other partners around the world. So, Tom Mulcair, here's my message. It's not hard to deal with a guy who makes stuff up. It's actually harder to deal with a Canadian government that can't decide what it stands for anymore. That's the truth. Instead of wagging your finger at the big evil orange man down south, maybe start asking why Canada is always the one caught flat-footed. Because the other nations that he has deals with right now, whether they're frameworks or not, haven't been caught flat-footed. None of them. Maybe ask why Carney's team is more interested in European submarine tours when he can't even make a decision on a submarine and climate vanity projects than actually securing trade stability for Canadian workers. The truth is very simple here. Trump's not the problem. You can try to make him the problem all you want. He's an easy target. Canada's indecision is the problem. And until we fix that, no amount of Mulcair's sound bites will change the fact that our negotiators are falling flat on their faces. Look, if you agree the Canadian media has become nothing more than a shield for liberal failure, smash that like button. And I do want to give CBC some credit here this week. They actually did have some pundits on and conservative based who actually did tear this apart, and they agreed. So they're ahead of CTV right now in all of this. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Do you think Canadians are being honest about about our negotiation stance, or are we just playing the victim while the world moves on without us? It sure feels like they're moving on. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, no episode tomorrow or on Monday because we will have a brand new set and a brand new format for you starting September 2nd. To all the kids, good luck back to school. Be safe, and we'll see you Tuesday.